have one daughter. She is 12. She'll be 13 this summer, and I homeschool her. And I've always homeschooled her, and so that's kind of a big part of my story, because before I tried Plexus, I was a desperate mom, I would say. I was desperate to feel well, and I just didn't. I was seeing doctors quite frequently because issues that I'd had since I was a child. I personally had IBS with diarrhea, the opposite of what Christine talked about, and I was rushing to the bathroom after every meal. I can remember when I first met my husband, who tends towards being a little bit more constipated. He thought I was maybe allergic to water because when we first got married, it didn't matter what I had, I was racing to the bathroom. I'd just been like that for my whole life. I didn't realize that it was something that was abnormal. But after I had my daughter, one of the things that I noticed was that things just started to pile up on top of each other. And I was having a lot more symptoms and a lot more things going wrong. And so I was seeing the doctor more often, trying to figure out what the deal was. And unfortunately, on all of the tests, everything that they ran, I looked healthy and I looked normal, except I felt like I was absolutely dying on the inside. I was proactive in my health the best that I knew how to be. I knew that it wasn't normal for me, and my body wasn't like deficient in protonics for my reflex, that there was something behind that maybe there was something I could do to change that, but at the same time, nothing that I did was working. I was on very restricted diets. I had cut out all soda. I was eating small portions, all the things I could do, and they were not helping. And so I was, just like Christine mentioned, I too was having a lot of UTIs. In the year before I started Plexus, I was having them at least once a month, and I was going to the doctor really frequently for it and getting antibiotics every single time, because that is just the answer that doctors have, is to give you an antibiotic for what's going on. And the thing that I don't think I ever had anybody say to me, "Are you drinking enough water?" Because honestly, I don't know that I was. That thought never crossed my mind. And now I realize just how important that is for our whole system to work, that you should definitely be drinking half your body's weight in ounces of water. So if you're not doing that, number one thing you should be doing. So then it came into the winter of that year. It was 2014 in the winter. And one day I woke up and I had a horrendous pain in my side. Nobody knew what it was. I saw several doctors. I actually had surgery to try to figure out what was going on, and nobody could figure it out. And I was put on antibiotics again, and all of these things snowball affected until the spring of 2015. The spring of 2015, I was miserable. Would go from my bed where I slept at night to my couch where I would sit with a heating pad all day long. I was on prescription pain medications, but I didn't feel comfortable to take those during the day because I was home alone with my daughter homeschooling. She was 6 at the time, and she was so responsible for this young age that she was. She made us lunch most days. She carried the books to the couch so that I could teach her. And we did that until I fell asleep, quite honestly, which happened every single afternoon. I just could not keep myself awake. And so this was our story. And then I would be racing to the bathroom. It was getting more and more frequent, and the pain was just escalating. I can remember going and being in the restroom in the bathroom and sitting on the toilet, and I would, like, the lights, I could feel them. It was like they were burning my skin and piercing my ears, and I would yell for somebody to turn them off. I would be sweating but freezing, and I would grab towels and wrap myself up in them and just wishing that I could pull out everything that was from my ribs down to my hips. It was so miserable. And then I found out that I had C. diff, which is a really nasty intestinal bacteria that just wreaks havoc on you. And so that was absolutely miserable. But I was not feeling heard by my doctors. They were just not listening to me. And so my mother-in-law actually had been trying out a few Plexus products, and she kept mentioning to me about these probiotics that Plexus had. Maybe it could help with what was going on. And I kept putting her off because I was having finally the doctors were listening to me, and they were going to do another test. They were going to run another MRI. I was going to get seen, and they were going to hear me this time. But I didn't feel heard. And so finally, when I felt at my wit's end, I tried Plexus. And I wish I would have tried it so much sooner. I really do. But it was June 2015 when I got a bottle of Probio 5 and I got a bottle of BioCleanse, and I took one of each of those. And my husband is so supportive, and he said, if you're going to do this, we will do it together. He was just wanting for us to find something to make me feel better. And the funny thing is that in turn, he also started to feel better. And it was like we didn't even realize that he was in need, because he cared about me so much that we weren't really paying attention to what was going on with him. But the first thing I noticed was that I was staying awake throughout the afternoon. I was not crashing asleep when my daughter was there next to me in the afternoons. And I thought, that's pretty cool. And then by the end of the month, I was starting to realize I wasn't needing, I was at that point in my life, I was on 80 milligrams of Protonix, which is a proton pump inhibitor to control acid reflux. And that one was the best of all of the ones that I had tried, only I was still having breakthrough reflux. And so I was still popping Gaviscon, that was my drug of choice that I took, and I was still having breakthrough reflux. And so what I started to notice by the end of that month was that I was needing it a little less. Yes, I'm needing it less, that Gaviscon, and I was not having as frequent amounts of trips to the bathroom. I still was going almost after every single meal, but instead of 10 to 15 times per day, I was now going, 8 times a day. It felt like really great. And so it was in July of that year that I decided I wanted to have these products for myself, and I wanted to get them when I needed them. And so I became an ambassador at that point. When in that month that I was trying, I got a brochure, and I saw in the brochure that Plexus had a product called Nerve. And so I was really intrigued by that, because up to this point, that pain that I had in my side was the only answer that I had was to take prescription pain medications. I saw a pain management specialist, and he suggested that when it got to the point that I absolutely could not handle it anymore, that they could do an ablation where they go in and they just burn all of the nerves in that area. And I was not ready for that. I was, in my mid-30s, and that just did not sound good to me. And so I tried Nerve. It was in the fall when I finally got it, and it was not an immediate thing, but I was slowly able to eliminate completely all pain medication and all over-the-counter medication that I had been taking for that pain. And I just started to feel like a new woman. I had so much inflammation in my body just because of all the antibiotics I'd been on, all of the pain medications that I'd been on, just so much. My body went through it was a slow process, but I felt every single step. Very gradual, but so good. So now I've been using the products almost 6 years, and I cannot imagine if I had never started. One of the other things Christine asked me to share about was my Joyome. So Joyome is our skincare line. In 2018, Plexus rolled this out, and up to this point, I had acne like crazy. I'd started when I went through puberty, so it was about 11. I started having acne, and it was really, really bad. When I was in high school, I actually went to a dermatologist whose answer was to pop everything. So I would go in, I don't know, once every couple of weeks, and I would lay on his table and feel humiliated while he just used a metal tool and he popped everything. And I'd come out and I would feel ashamed, I would feel hideous, and I would want to hide in a corner. And I didn't see him more than a few months, but that was the mindset I went through life with my skin, my face. I felt hideous. I felt like I needed to hide, and I had absolutely nothing to give because I was so ugly. And so when Plexus came out with Joyome in 2018, I did not have extremely high hopes for the products because nothing had really ever helped me before, but I trusted what Plexus put out because it had changed my life so much. And so I began using them immediately, and I will tell you, the first thing I noticed was I had a lot of detox. I broke out worse than I had been before, but I just stuck with it because I had realized what happens to me when my body starts getting rid of icky stuff inside of me is my skin, I break out. So no wonder I'd had so many issues when I was growing up and as an adult because I just had a lot of stuff going on in my gut. And so then things started to heal. I started to break out less often. I had so many scars on my face from the acne. I'd been in a car accident when I was in college, and I had glass from the window that had embedded into my cheeks. And so these were some very deep scars that I had. I too have a picture. This is of my skin. So this is what I looked like. And it's not totally clear now, but it is so much better. Like, I feel confident in the skin the skin I'm in. And at 40, I feel better than I really ever imagined. I believe that I have touched on all the things that I intended to. My story, it entails a lot more things. So if you have any questions or you want to dig deeper with anything that I shared, then please do not hesitate to ask. I would love to just help you figure out what works best for you, because truly Plexus is amazing. Have a really great night.